A movie you want to see? I got only a few copies. The Speed of Thought. The Speed of Thought, which is teaching you about the astral plane. He actually goes able to communicate with somebody across the room. They meet on the astral plane, and he begins to teach them lessons on other techniques to do. And of course, the master of it was able to actually give people other thoughts who are not in tune. Get this movie, The Speed of Thought. Of course, you ain't gonna get it at the movie house or anything like that. The guy who played in the Terminator. We also have the previous classes that we did here on black sexuality. Me and Inky did, and we get ready for our 5th installment with this brother, Natural Tahuti. Brother did a great, excellent lecture at what was that school over here?
Oh, Malcolm X.
Harriet Tubman. Excellent lecture on Harriet Tubman. And so did Ali Muhammad. They both did great, great lectures. But I saw at Tahuti things that I was talking about years ago, and I said, that's what we need. Wake up people to reawaken to the goddess energy, because the women need more compassion, really. They are considered the weaker sex, but man itself is man and woman, really. But females are more emotional and all these other things, so we have to kind of help them along in their ego, in teaching them about the science of self, sexuality, as well as the man. Okay, as well as the man. But the females really need more right now because of the thyroidism, hypothyroid and hypothyroid problems, and so they have a lot of low self-worth. You know, killing themselves, drowning their babies, and all that kind of stuff. You see all of that all the time. So that's why. And the goddess is where we all come from. I don't know about you. Some people get the Caesarean crack and say, I don't know what you coming out of the goddess's wormhole. You coming out as a Caesarean, wow. Caesar's way. You gonna cut your ass out. Okay? So everybody didn't come here through the black hole. You gotta understand that. The black hole shapes your head like Akhenaten. That's called phrenology. Okay? Without further ado, because I can't wait to hear what this brother's gonna say. Here he is, my brother, Natural Tahuti. What's up, my brother? All right.
That was awesome. Thank you for inviting me here. And let me just reintroduce myself. My name is Natural Tahuti, a.k.a. the son of Sekhmet, a.k.a. the seed of Kalima. And I take on those titles of Sekhmet as the son of Sekhmet and the seed of Kalima because in the Nile Valley, Sekhmet, and over in the Indus Valley, Kali and Sekhmet is the same deity. Sekhmet is the great mother who comes in the form of a destroyer. She comes to lay it down. When there's dissatisfaction, she comes as a corrector. See, most of us think that females are only passive and submissive, but that's not true. And if you got a black woman, you know that's not true. They have two sides to them. Mm-hmm. They can be very vicious. If you attack a female's child, you will definitely see her other side. There has been women who have lifted whole trucks and cars to get her child from an accident up under those trucks. So she definitely has both the sun and the moon in her because she produces both. And when you look at the cosmology of ancient Kemet, you see from the goddess Nut, right from her womb, she is producing the sun. You see? So the goddess is time itself, and that's why the calendar and the clock was created according to the cycles of the woman. So I liken myself to the goddess Sekhmet and the goddess Kali as her son. Because I come from a school, I came out the nation of gods and earths, you know, the nation of Islam, and you know what their teachings are, that the black man is God. So I went with that teaching for a lot of years, right? And I have to say that it does produce that type of energy where, you know, the man becomes mastering over the woman. You know, I became so much involved in the egotism of I'm the God and the supreme being that I couldn't stand women that would try to like, you know, buck up against me. You know what I mean? She's got to be submissive, and that's no other way around it. But you know, as during my journey, I started doing more research and more studying, and you know, I'm not a part of the nation anymore because my teachers have elevated and they won't allow me to teach anything about ancient Kemet or anything of that nature in the nation. So I left the nation and got on this path. But somewhere about last year, I had a spiritual awakening to the goddess. And it happened that I went to the 5%ers Parliament, and there was a brother there that knows me, and he handed me a book called The Goddess Syndrome. He kept begging me, yo brother, you gotta read this, because they know my beliefs that I teach that the black woman's God. So when I read it, the book appalled me because it was so denigrating to women.
What?
It was very denigrating. They said a goddess ain't nothing but a faggot. They said if the world had been all women, we would all be faggots. So I said, this is crazy, because I remember that they had a teaching that the moon was separated from the earth. And at that time on the moon, it was all men. And so, before the woman came. And so they say that when the earth and moon separated, the weak men laid down, and from the explosion, their genitals went inward and upward, and their mammary glands came out. So this is a teaching, and some of them may try to deny it, but the teaching is still around. And matter of fact, the brother quoted it in the pamphlet called The Goddess Syndrome. So basically, you know, he said that men who worship the women as goddess are weak men. So when that happened, you know, I was kind of upset by the book. So I challenged the brother. I said, listen, this is garbage. Y'all teaching this? This is historically inaccurate, and it's scientifically inaccurate, metaphysically inaccurate. To say that the woman is secondary but most necessary. This is all inaccurate, and we need to give this type of teaching a facelift because we're living in a very dangerous time now. And on this planet, Europeans know about the goddess. That's why you have the Statue of Liberty out there in the ocean. And if you look at her crown, you'll see she's a sun goddess. You see? They know about this. And when you look at the justice system, you'll see that justice has a blindfold over her. Because they blindfolded the woman. They subjugated the woman many, many years ago. Now, I just did a lecture in Virginia, and I talked about this. Because a lot of times, we like to throw the white man around as a scapegoat. We do not try to deal with the part of our history and what part we played. Because I said, well, listen, if we are the gods and goddesses of this planet and the masters of this universe, how did we let some teenage mutant ninja turtles come from the caves of Europe and come into our holy lands and take our stuff and just did what they wanted to do, and now they're the masters of the planet? How did that happen? You see, how did that happen? If we are the mystical, the magical, the metaphysical, we all of these things, you just call us a Tootsie Roll. We're all of those good things wrapped up in one. So how did this happen? You see? I had to have more than the story that I was told by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that we made a devil and, we made him to show and prove that we was God. There was something more to this story than meets the eye. And so I did the research, and when I found out the first wars on the planet, they didn't happen between Europeans and Africans, because there were Africans on the planet. We were the only people here.
Right.
The first wars on the planet were between Africans and Africans, and they were gender wars. This is the part of our story we don't like to identify, because we have this romanticized version of our story. And a lot of us are still under the male patriarchy spell. So when you read our history books, we have some stories about the woman, but she's like little more than just his helpmate and some great mother that, you know, helped in the village and stuff like that. But we don't hear the real roles of women and what they played. So these wars began in Egypt. Somewhere during the first dynasties, the matriarchy began to start turning over into a patriarchy during the rule of Menes. And up until around the 18th dynasty, men became, the priesthood became very corrupt because we had some invasions going on, and they became very, very corrupt. The priesthood of Amen and the clans of Horus did something that never was done before for the first time on the planet, and that was they destroyed the temples of the Great Mother. And they began to start changing the cosmology around to reflect these male deities as opposed to the goddess, the organic goddess. Because when you deal with the male deities as the creator, it's a little inorganic because these gods have to resort to masturbating, ingesting the semen into his body for gestation in order to give birth to the universe. Whereas the goddess, this is organic. The universe comes right out of her womb. Because in the older cosmologies, they talk about the cosmic egg. You see? Which I'm going to show today. That's basically what I'm going to do today, is deal with these particular patterns in nature. So, let's get to this. The goddess Kali, as you can see right here, this is her Aryanized form. Okay? They tried to really vilify her. But Kali, the word Kali in itself means black. Okay? Or what word that was equal to the word black at that particular day and time. And you see she has a number of arms here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And under her, you see a male. There's a man that she has her foot on. And he is a white male. Right? So, in my interpretation of this, we are now living in the return of the goddess Kali. Kali has returned on the set. And she is here to destroy the white male patriarchy. Okay? Now, in the version of this story, this is her husband, Shiva. Okay? Because the planet was inhibited, or in other words, in the beginning, it was the goddess. And from the goddess, man, really I don't even like to say that word goddess, because goddess don't even come into the lexicon until around 1350. She's the god. A lot of people say, well, God is masculine, and I prove that's not true. But this is her husband, and this is Shiva. You see what I'm saying to you? And she is subduing her husband, and he has a drum somewhere right here because she's in such rage. That's why you see her tongue with the blood red. She is in such rage that she is only concerned with destroying. But she is also the most kindest, the most lovingest, and the most compassionate being in the universe. You see? But he has a drum here because in order to stop her from subduing the earth and just destroying it and obliterating it, he plays the music to calm her down and bring her back into memory. So let's go.